In Oslo, Norway, a terrorist attack has taken place at the Parliament building. At about 3:30 p.m., a bomb went off, killing about 15 people. At the same time, at a Labour Party youth camp, a gunman opened fire on a group of children, killing 80 of them. The suspect is a right-wing extremist, a self-admitted right-wing extremist, and police do have someone in custody. In police custody is Anders Breivik, age 32, a known right-wing extremist who's affiliated with many Christian fundamentalist groups that are anti-Islam. His Facebook and his Twitter page are both describe himself as a Christian fundamentalist. According to the European media, Breivik is a member of several right-wing organizations in eastern Norway. He's also known to police as having weapons, including an assault rifle. He is a self-described nationalist and anti-Muslim. Appropriately enough, immediately following the incident, the media and government automatically sought to blame Islamic fundamentalism for the attack, and then proceeded to blame religious extremism and religious-based violence. Once it became known that the perpetrator of murdering 80 children was in fact a Christian fundamentalist, all criticisms of religion being violence or causing violence have disappeared from the media. When events like this happen, and as well in this case, immediately it gets compared to other such incidents. Most notably, it's being compared to the Timothy McVeigh bombings of Oklahoma City. Now, the media is describing the man as some kind of lone wolf psycho. Now, this is a very typical move by the media, taking a right-wing extremist who kills people and labeling him as a lone wolf psycho or someone who possibly has mental problems. When the reality is, right-wing extremist violence has been on the rise since at least the global economic collapse. Breivik was not a lone wolf. He was a member of several organizations that support such actions. The day of the attacks that he carried out, he published a manifesto online, a 1,500-page document that declared that Europe was being destroyed by Muslims and what he described as cultural Marxism, meaning tolerance towards people of other faiths and other cultures. This incident is not the result of some kind of lone wolf action. This is the inevitable result of the hatred that is spewed forth by Islamophobes and Christian fundamentalists. The complaint that Muslims are taking over Europe, even if it were true, would still be complete hypocrisy. In the last several hundred years, Europe has occupied the Middle East and Africa, colonizing both continents, exploiting those places for profit, and brutalizing, if not outright enslaving those continents' population. However, if some people from those places wish to move to Europe to have a better life, to live in peace, to get away from violence, then it's being considered a kind of invasion. So if Europe invades the rest of the world, it's okay, despite the fact it's based on exploitation, brutalization, and slavery, it's okay. But if some people move to Britain, or not Britain, but Europe, to live in peace and to not have these things happen, then it's being considered an attack on the European way of life. With this incident, the outright stupidity of anti-communism has been exposed to a degree that which even other anti-communists cannot deny. The man blames cultural Marxism for the supposed destruction of Europe. Marxism, an ideology based on a secular understanding that we're all equal and that we are all human beings and deserve equality, hardly would perpetuate the idea of a religious extremism that saw one group of people being superior to all others. The connection between these two things is nothing but astounding ignorance and a perfect example of ignorant, small-minded hatred. I mean, it's just downright stupid, actually. The posts made by Breivik have been noted by the European media. The posts have been made on particular websites that were then also connected to other far-right websites and political movements like the Tea Party, the Austrian Freedom Party, the English Defense League, and the Jewish Defense League. This incident follows a long history of anti-Semitic behavior within Europe. One of the prime examples is Angela Merkel, who so proudly claimed that multiculturalism had failed. Now, as an individual who lives in the most multicultural country in the world and lived in the second most multicultural city in the entire world, I can tell you that is an absolute lie. I have lived in such a culture. I went to a very heavily multicultural high school. Religious violence where I lived was virtually nothing. And most ethnically based violence was that in organized crime. Gangs of different races fighting with each other. And what they were fighting over was not ethnicity, but access to markets. Who was going to sell drugs in what area? They were fighting over a market. They were fighting over a supply of drugs, gun running, and control. They were actually about capitalism and profit making than it was actually about ethnicity. I've lived in these multicultural societies, or this multicultural society. Religious and ethnic violence is virtually non-existent. That is one of the great things about Canada, is the multiculturalism is one of our strengths, not one of our weaknesses and not something we blame things on. And we live in peace better than most countries. So I would have to say to those who claim that multiculturalism does not work, you are a liar. It doesn't work because you will not allow it to work. You don't want it to work because you're xenophobes. You hate anything that's different than you, and you deliberately ostracize it, keep it out, and then turn around and claim its integration doesn't work. Because you will not allow it to work because of your own petty, narrow-minded ignorance. Multiculturalism does work when you don't sabotage it from the beginning. Multiculturalism does work. It's you that doesn't work.